Hello, everybody, and welcome again to Nerd of the Third Power, your one-stop shop for all things nerdy and awesome. I'm your host and master of ceremonies, Dr. Gonzo. Kat is en route. She's stuck in traffic on her way back from places unknown. But Skyblaze is back with us this week. Yay, Skyblaze!
Hello.
How have you been?
Working, mostly. Working lots, because the run-up to E3 is upon us. No, I'm fine. It was my birthday yesterday, and I had a good day. So
Yes, happy birthday! Happy birthday! So, did you and the boy toy go out and do anything fun?
Yeah, we went out for a meal.
Okay.
I spent most of the day raining though, so
okay.
because Sheffield.
Alrighty. And also with us is Brian. Brian, how are you doing this week?
Hello, I'm here. It's an official week. I'm finally off of work for a while. I to kind of relax a little bit, rest and recover, if you will.
All right, awesome. And Kat will just join us when she arrives. So we got a fun show tonight, a show that we've all been really looking forward to, and that discussion is going to be the Wonder Woman movie, which has faced an enormous amount of pressure in its lead up to release, and seems to have done very well. So we've all had a chance to see it, and so we're going to be taking the film apart and then seeing if it's a worthy addition to the DCU. Although, admittedly, being a worthy addition is not a high bar to clear, considering some of the previous efforts. Suicide Squad. And Cat, there's a cat who is arriving.
A wild cat appears.
Yes, I don't know why the hell where these wild cats are coming from. We really need to talk to building management, but there's one specific cat that we're talking about who we do want to join us, and that is our own anime goddess, the Cat. So, Cat, how are you doing this week?
Oh, well, it's only Tuesday, but it's already been cray-cray. I'm working A-Con this weekend. So I've had to do everything that I would do in the next week at work, and I've had to do it in 2 days.
Oh, God.
While we're training a new person.
That's
and then my evenings are like, okay, I got to pack. I got to get all this stuff done. We keep changing our plans every 5 minutes. So I'm like going insane.
Alrighty. Okay. All right. Well, as I mentioned, we are discussing the Wonder Woman movie tonight, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. But of course, serious procedure to follow, and we are going to begin as always with the random topic of the week. And the last episode, we discussed technology annoyances that we're not entirely sure why we still have to deal with. I mentioned the tempered glass screen protectors on my new phone that keep breaking if they're exposed to so much as a stiff breeze. And Kat mentioned having to deal with Internet Explorer at work when so many better options are available. But Skyblaze, since you weren't here that week, I'm interested, as someone who's heavy into technology and gadgets, what's a technological annoyance that you've encountered that you would like to know why is it still a problem?
Well, having gone through the pain and misery of installing Windows 10 recently, I am curious as to why Windows 10 decided that my onboard graphics card, the one that's attached to the motherboard, is always the default, as opposed to the very expensive, specific, powerful GeForce graphics card that's actually in the graphics card slot. Why you do this, Windows?
The one that the monitor is actually plugged into.
Yeah, but the one, yeah. I had to go into BIOS and disable it in BIOS before it would actually display anything on the screen. Why?
Okay. Well, we've had some responses to that discussion. Shelley writes, "My biggest issue with cell phones is the cases. Why can't we just make phones that don't explode if you drop them from higher than 3 feet?" Which, yeah, that's kind of a I don't know. Like, has there been a trend? It seems to me like there's been a trend recently of making cell phones a little more robust. Is that just me, or am I just hallucinating that?
It's not just
holding
you,
a small computer.
It's partially that the technology has slimmed down to the point where they can basically put more padding on it. and partially that the glass technology that they're using, well, inverted commas, it's not really glass. But yeah, the glass that they're using is a lot more durable. Part of the perception of the smartphone thing being so fragile is that a lot of people use iPhones, which are ridiculously fragile. Because for reasons best known unto themselves, Apple do not use the most durable materials. They use the ones that look nice.
Indeed.
Yeah, and if you want a cell phone that won't explode when dropped from a low height, look at getting one of the remake Nokia. I think it's 3210s.
Oh, is that the one they put out? That's like it's the one from like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
with the actual buttons on it.
The reason why people wanting those again is because they were basically indestructible.
Oh God, yeah. If you could throw an iPhone at somebody and they wouldn't even realize it hit them, but if you throw a Nokia phone at somebody, you mean them grievous bodily harm.
Oh yeah, this is where the term Nokia-tanium came from.
Is that chemically related to a Nintendium, the material that makes Nintendo systems
I believe
destructible?
So. Yeah, I believe so. See, also vibranium and.
Okay, and let's see. Thomas writes one here. His issue is, I have a bunch of external hard drives, and the power cord for all of them takes a different size plug. Why can't we just have one standard power cord plug for all of these things? Which, yeah, I can kind of sympathize with that, because when I moved, I wound up losing the power cable to one of my external hard drives. And, it's got a lot of important stuff on there that I need, but, I can't just move swap the cable from one hard drive to the next. I have to actually go out and find a cord for this hard drive, which it's an older model, so I'm having a little bit of trouble finding one.
I cheat when it comes to things like this. I just find something that's the right voltage and solder the right kind of plug on.
Okay.
This is what happens to you when you grow up in a house with an electronics engineer. Weird stuff happens to your brain.
And Ray writes I can't really read the whole thing because it's long, but he sent a very nice little tirade about non-rechargeable batteries and why anyone is designing anything that will not take a rechargeable nickel-cadmium battery.
Old people.
In some cases, it's because rechargeable batteries are actually a lot more volatile than regular batteries.
Yes. See, for example, the Samsung Note 7.
But really, like cameras, there are still cameras that take AA batteries instead of having some sort of easily rechargeable battery. And I swear to God, I think it's just because old people still buy that stuff. Because old people don't want them rechargeable batteries. They want what they know. Now, and they know regular batteries.
Now I know that you just got a camera cat. Does yours take rechargeable batteries, or do you have to go buy Duracells?
No, I've got, the really fancy huge battery pack that accompanies a DSLR. If you had to have a rechargeable, like if you had to put AA's into that, well, first off, it would probably be like D's, and it would cause the camera to weigh so much, which is another reason why nobody wants to put like Duracells or anything like that into a camera, because it just weighs it down.
Alrighty.
I remember back when D cells were common.
I remember I can't remember what exactly it was, but my dad used to have this device that he would tinker with in the garage that used these batteries that were the size of beer cans, and I used to be amazed as a child that batteries even got that size.
Oh yeah.
So. All right, and so we're going to go ahead and forego a new just random topic of the week this week to give a little extra time to Wonder Woman. But we are going to do Ask a Geek, and we got some questions here. And let's see, Skyblaze, are you still following My Little Pony, or is it just me? Am I alone?
I'm a couple of episodes behind, but I have seen some of this season.
Okay, good. Because Lacey writes to us, she asks us what our thoughts are on the current season of My Little Pony so far. And I will give you the floor first, Skyblaze, because I don't have a whole lot of nice things to say, and I feel like that some soothing coups need to be given before I drive the knife into the heart.
It's not been. I haven't found anything particularly offensive, but nor has it blown me away. It's just there was a kind of nice scene with Celestia and Twilight Sparkle. Spoiler alerts, by the way. With the discussion about whether or not to let when to let go of somebody you've been trying to teach. And that was a kind of nice emotional moment, and there was some nice character development, especially for Celestia, going on there. And kind of showed another side to Celestia, which I quite liked. But apart from that scene, there's been nothing that particularly stands out to me. So my reaction to this season so far has been, it's all right. It's generally inoffensive.
Yeah, this season, aside from the last couple of episodes, like the one where Scootaloo meets Rainbow Dash's parents, and the one with Rarity and Sweetie Belle, Rarity coming to terms with the fact that her little sister's getting older. Outside of that, this season has really not been all that great to me, and it's because of one character in particular, and that's Starlight Glimmer. I'm really getting tired of her. I really feel like that she's become a bit of a creator's pet, a bit of a spotlight hog. And, I'm really angry that they toyed with me in that first episode because, they did the whole thing where Twilight Sparkle was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to send Starlight Glimmer away. And I'm like, yes, I love this episode. And then they get to the end of the episode. I'm not ready to leave. I'm not ready for you to leave. And I'm like, oh, I hate this episode. You've raised my hopes and dashed them quite expertly, sir. So I really feel like they don't really know what to do with Starlight Glimmer anymore, so they're just kind of throwing her at the wall just to see what sticks, which, as a writer would say to me that it's time to retire the character, but, I'm not the showrunner, so I don't get to make that call. The point where there was one episode that I really thought they had a really good germ of an idea in with it, and it was a Starlight Glimmer episode, and that was the one where Starlight Glimmer and Maud Pie were becoming friends, and I really feel like that Pinkie Pie just completely ruined that whole story. I really think that should have just been just Starlight and Maud, and then Pinkie Pie could have just been removed. Although there was that one standout moment where it's revealed that Maud showed Starlight where to find the cave to store all the cutie marks in, and Pinkie Pie was like, "Yeah, let's never talk about that ever." So, but I mean, the season's still young. There's more to go, so maybe I'll get wowed. Let's see another question here. Okay, here's one for all of us, and this one comes from Donnie, and he asked if we're excited about the trailer that was released for the Netflix Castlevania series, to which I give the immediate response of yes, I want it now, please, I can't even wait, just inject it directly into my veins. I want this so bad. So, what about you guys? Have you had a chance to see it?
Well, yeah, you posted it on my timeline. I was sort of forced to. To which I point out the guy at the very last line, I swear to God, changed accents 3 times in one sentence.
I think that's the only reason I watched the trailer was because he pointed out all the accent changes.
Whoops. I'm cautiously optimistic. On the other hand, Konami is Konami.
Indeed. I am interested that they if from what I saw in the trailer, it looks like the story is going to initially follow the third game, Castlevania 3, which I think was not Dracula's Curse. Was it Dracula's Revenge? Because I know Dracula's Curse was the third one. Simon's Quest was the second one. Okay. Which follows Simon Belmont's, I think, grandfather, Trevor, and was in the old timeline before Lords of Shadow overwrote everything, was I think the very first story in the Castlevania timeline. So I'm really interested to see what they do with that. I'm thinking they're going to do what I predicted, which is they're going to do a multi-generational series following the various members of the Belmont family through the ages. So if that's what they're doing, I'm really interested to see what they do. But I need to have it.
It's curious
now.
that they seem to be following the old timeline rather than the semi-current one from Lords of Shadow.
The only reason I can think of why they wouldn't do that is I think they want to leave the story open for the possibility of more seasons if it turns out to be a success. Because the Lords of Shadow timeline, you really only have 3 games to work with.
It's kind of self-contained.
Yeah, it's very much a contained story. Whereas with the old timeline, I mean, you've got centuries of material to work with. So there's plenty of room there to expand if necessary. Okay, let's see here now. And then he's also got a second one for Brian, and he actually asked you about something that we were discussing earlier, which is, have you heard of the new documentary, Batman and Bill, about the Bob Kane and Bill Finger controversy?
Yeah, I've heard about it. I knew it was coming. I just haven't got a chance to see it yet. So I'm kind of glad to see this is sort of seeing the light of day. I kind of wish it wasn't on a Hulu subscription service and was more readily available, but you take what you can get.
Oh, I mean, maybe it'll get a DVD release at some point down the line. Okay. And then, Kat, I'm going to apologize in advance for this question, but we've gotten about half a dozen people asking this, so I'm just going to go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off and get it over with. Cowboy Bebop live-action remake. What are your thoughts?
I'll believe it when I see it, because I know they announced it and everybody's making a big deal about it, but companies have been singing the same old song for ages now. And I believe it's being co-produced or whatever with Sunrise. And Sunrise, they're kind of a little bit assholey. They're really, really hard to work with. They want everything done a very specific way. And that doesn't always go over very well for American companies. So that'd be interesting. I wish we'd leave it alone, because Cowboy Bebop does not need any other versions. It does not need a live action version. I wish we would just leave well enough alone, because we're about 2 minutes away from the internet exploding with racial controversy, even though nothing's been said or done yet, because every time something Japanese anime gets made, there's racial controversy about washing, and we're gonna have that. It's going to happen, even though this is a bunch of characters named like Spike and Jet and Edward. We are going to have a ton of racial controversies, so ready yourselves for that. But I wish we could just avoid all of that by not taking God's perfect creation, Cowboy Bebop, and making an unnecessary live-action adaptation. And would people please stop calling it a reboot? It's a live-action adaptation.
Okay, all right. So you need to touch.
Reboot is just a good word to throw around, though. It's just
reboot is like the clickbait word where you're like, oh, they're rebooting this.
Right.
Like they're destroying your childhood. Please click on my links. And it's not a reboot if it's just a live action adaptation. And bear in mind as the months go on, as news comes out, that it's an adaptation. Whatever happens with it, if it even happens, y'all can't expect that it's going to be exactly like the show, because first off, nothing will ever be that good. So you just need to lower those expectations. Just bring them down.
We've already looked upon the face of perfection, and nothing will ever measure up to that ever again.
Right? It's not even my favorite show or anything. I just know that it is. You just need to leave it well enough alone, because it belongs on the pedestal that it sits upon, and just don't fucking touch it.
I don't understand this. It's like you take something like really, really awesome. Yeah, I can understand kind of re-releasing it with some extras and, redoing it in higher definition. Like, go nuts with that thing. But doing something that's exceptionally good and then making it shit. Because every single live action adaptation of an anime has been garbage.
Well, this is a discussion we've covered before, and the conclusion we've drawn has always been the same. Hollywood still has yet to believe that the recession is in a recovery and is unwilling to try any new ideas.
Well, it's not just that.
It's not. Yeah, it's that you could take something that isn't that great and make it so much better, or you can make something that's kind of average and make it amazing. It's something that just takes polish. Sorry, Kat, go ahead.
Part of it is that there's a lot of well-meaning people in Hollywood who really, have a couple of anime here and there. Like James Cameron is a big fan of Battle Angel Alita and bought up the rights for it and has never made the film. But he's going to make it one day because he's a really big fan. And so there's all these really well-meaning Hollywood people who buy up the licenses for stuff or get interested in a project because they're a really big fan and they really want to do something with it. But I think most anime fans don't actually want that adaptation. They don't want to see it live action. They don't want to see some white Americans' interpretation or whatever it is that we end up with. We just don't need that because this was made into an anime for a reason, and that's the medium that it was chosen for. And so we don't need that live action adaptation. But somebody with a lot of money said, yes, this would be great, and the fans will love it. And they're not, like an otaku or a weeb or anything. They don't really know what the fans want because they're not really one of the fans. They just like this one thing. So I think that's part of it. But the reason why they keep choosing the biggest named stuff is because that's
what they've heard of.
Yeah, it is the biggest name stuff. They take either the really artistic pieces or they take the most common names that aren't Pokemon. So far they haven't actually done a live action adaptation of Naruto or Bleach.
Give it time.
An American film, not yet, but it'll happen eventually. So they're taking the things that they know they can sell because they've already sold millions in manga and millions in merchandising and millions on the anime. And they're going, yes, we could make the millions because this is so popular.
We want to make all the money thing again.
Yes.
Making some money isn't enough. They have to make all the money.
So you've got one person who's really dedicated, really a fan, and maybe they string along a couple of other well-meaning people, but in the end the studio just wants to make money.
Brian, I think we need to put American anime movies on the rotation because this is clearly something that's sitting heavy on Kat's mind, and I think she wants to discuss it.
I'm just tired of it happening.
It's not just anime though. This exact same thing happened to Avatar: The Last Airbender when they adapted that for live action,
which we've covered and need not return to.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But that's all the Ask Geek questions that we have for this week. Thank you, as always, for sending them in. As always, you can send them to us through the email at drgonzo@nerdofthethird.power.com, or you can leave them in a YouTube comment below this feed. We're also pulling questions from there. Love getting your questions. Love hearing from you guys. So get your questions in. You might get it right on the air. And so now that we've had our veggies, we're going to jump into the meat of this episode, and that is Wonder Woman, a film that has faced an immense amount of pressure, very high expectations, and at the same time, kind of low expectations given the previous DC Expanded Universe efforts. A lot of eyes on this film, had a lot to live up to, and it seems to have largely succeeded. So we are going to be, we've all had a chance to see the film, so we are going to be examining it and seeing, just how this movie has done in our eyes. So, so let's go ahead and start just with our general thoughts on the film. So, Skyblaze, why don't we start with you this week?
General thoughts, I had no expectations of this. I kind of heard that it was doing well, but, and some of my friends were like, oh, that was actually really good. But then I had a bit of a difference of opinion with some of my friends when it came to Man of Steel and some other films, and it was like, oh yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I didn't. Man of Steel made me angry, really angry. So I was like, I was not going into this hugely optimistic. All it had to do was suck less. It managed to do that. In fact, my first thought upon it ending was, that didn't suck. So yeah, the bar it had to clear was do not suck, and it cleared that.
Wow. Okay. Talk about damning by faint praise.
That's not to say it was bad. I really enjoyed it. It's just, it didn't have very much of a bar to clear in order to not disappoint me, if you know what I mean.
Okay. All right. Kat, what about you? What did you think of it?
I went in also with sort of lowish expectations. It was getting really good reviews, but I don't really trust a whole lot of reviews. I had to wait until people I personally knew whose opinions that I trusted were coming out of the theater with, just glowing words. And then I was like, okay, this might not be terrible. And it wasn't. It was actually really good. I was genuinely surprised. And gotta love Chris Pine, because Chris Pine is so Chris Piney, that I thought it was going to sort of take me out of the movie viewing experience, but he was actually quite excellent.
Okay.
And sort of I didn't really pay too much attention to the cast beforehand, and I was really impressed by the cast. What a great group.
All right. Well, we'll get to that down the line. Brian, what about you? General thoughts on Wonder Woman?
I really enjoyed the film. Now, there was actually a lot of pressure on this film, as you mentioned before, and there was a lot going. I would feel like just a lot of people were really had a lot of expectations, not only just because it's another film within the DC movie universe. It's also the first, well, not the first, but it's Wonder Woman's first film. This is the first foray into live action on her own, basically, and a lot of people wanted this to be extremely successful for that reason. It wasn't the first superhero film with a female lead, but we just forget about the other ones because they were bad. Elektra, Catwoman are the two biggest examples.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of socio-political pressure on this film, which we won't get into here. But I gotta say, I really enjoyed this film. I absolutely loved it. I think I'm probably going to be the control group in this discussion, because my knowledge of Wonder Woman prior to this, I never read any of the comics. I hadn't seen her character in Justice League or Justice League Unlimited, because at that, I wasn't just watching TV in those days. So my knowledge of Wonder Woman going into this movie could basically be summed up as Amazon, lasso of truth, and lots of jokes about her losing track of the invisible jet. So I went in kind of with a blank slate, and I absolutely love this movie. There's really nothing bad that I had to say about the film itself. Do you have to make a complaint about how I saw it? Because I got the theater I saw it in, they have these rumble seats that you could reserve, and I decided to try them out, and holy shit, it felt like I was sitting on the subwoofer at a Metallica concert.
Ugh.
So you actually got one of those moving seats or whatever, those gimmicky moving seats?
No, well,
how much money did you lose on that?
Well, let me clarify. They're not like the ones that you'd see at a theme park that that throw you back and forth and to and fro. But the seat would lean a little bit, in the scene where Wonder Woman was looking down the cliff, the seat would kind of lean
Those
over.
Those are exactly like the ones in the movie and theme parks. The fuck are you talking about?
Let me finish. But not to that, but they're not to that same level. It was a very minor movement. Just the lumbar support angle was changing, pretty much is it. But anytime there was any kind of punch thrown or explosion on the screen, the seat would vibrate. And it's okay, I could see this being cool for a heavy metal concert for a video game experience. But if this keeps up, I'm going to do something shameful. I'm going to lose muscle control in my lower region, and something unpleasant is going to happen. So I probably won't be doing that again. But as for the movie itself, putting the train back on its tracks, I absolutely loved it. And I'm actually going to go see it again, which is the first time I've said that without irony about a DC expanded universe film. So so with that, let's start breaking the film down to its component parts. So Brian, why don't you go ahead and give us a brief rundown of the plot of this film?
Well, the plot is actually a Wonder Woman's origin story when she basically meets Steve Trevor, the World War I pilot, not the World War II pilot like normally, and spy who crashes on Paradise Island, and she finds out there's a war going on outside. And in this sort of movie, they sort of lay out this foundation that the Amazons one of their deals is that they help keep Ares, the god of war, in check. So she believes Ares has returned and wants to go out and fight this war. Unfortunately, her mother does not want her to go out there. She actually didn't want her to train her at first as well, but she, lets up a little bit. So she eventually does, though, leave the island to go out into man's world during World War I. And through different series of events, this is a very Cliff Notes version. I actually kind of like it. The movie was kind of straightforward like that through a series of events, they eventually do go out into the world, into the war, basically, as Wonder Woman is learning about man's world to find Ares. And Steve Trevor is trying to find the German general that's working with Dr. Poison that's created this new mustard gas, which could not only turn the tide of the war, it will make the war continue for much longer.
Which, speaking of that character, Dr. Poison, I've never heard a more straightforward name than that. Like, that literally tells you everything you need to know about her as a person.
It's stated in the film that it's her a derogatory name that has been applied to her by the troops, basically.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, like, I don't know, they don't mention it in the film, but she almost readily accepts it. It's like, oh yeah, you're Dr. Poison. It's like, shit, yeah, I am. You're dead now.
It's who I am. It's what I do.
Yeah. So the eventual lead, and this will be spoilers in this. We've already spoiled things though, but I'll leave it in the in the comments that we do spoil the film. Is that when the big climax of the film happens after they leave and they go out into the world and they find this general who Wonder Woman believes is Ares. Turns out he's not Ares, but Ares is in fact in the film that has been manipulating these events from for a while now, and that's where and. I'll get into it when we talk about the plot a little bit more. To me, the third act's a little bit shakier than the first two acts, mainly because it follows in the trope of other superhero genre films where, okay, here's the big CGI fight between the villain and the hero now. But since I like so much what came beforehand, I sort of glossed over that and said, yeah, it's a big CGI fight, superheroes, whatever. I still enjoyed the film. So at the end of the films, you get that big fight between Wonder Woman and Ares. And you learn and why she didn't actually like leave sort of mankind or human or the man's world or whatever, but you sort of learn that through these events is what she fights for. It's not necessarily truth and justice, but she fights for love because she believes love is the greatest aspect of humans and of everyone really. And that's something that I thought was actually kind of inspiring. That's the reason she wants to continue on and be Wonder Woman, even though they never called her Wonder Woman in the whole movie. How odd.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about the story and the scripting of this film. So, Kat, why don't we start with you? What were your thoughts on the story of this film?
It was great. Brian's right. It kind of fell into the superhero trope at the end, but I never felt it was totally predictable, really, in any way. It does kind of feel like you're watching Captain America, the first Avenger. But that's not even necessarily a bad thing because that's a great film. So I don't even mind that I really did go, I remember this scene in Captain America. And this scene in this is my favorite scene in Captain America. But if you can shut down that part of your brain that forces you to make that comparison, it's a really good script, I felt. Never too predictable. There's a couple things that keep you guessing. And the ending made me cry.
It's interesting you bring that up because even in comics, like Wonder Woman and Captain America's like history or whatever is very similar in its own right. So for the two films that kind of have that similarity, I think is quite interesting. And like you've mentioned before, it's not really a detriment either.
Okay, Skyblaze, I think you were about to say something.
I was generally agreeing with what Kat and Brian were saying. But it's also, it is quite similar to, it hits a lot of the same beats as Captain America: The First Avenger, but it's different enough that it stands on its own. And the fact that she's such a different character in a lot of ways helps. there was also a bit at the end where it's like I called it one way and the film did a different thing, and I was like, okay, I did not expect that. Fair enough.
Well, what was that moment?
I called who Ares was wrong.
Ooh, I totally called it in my head.
I thought it was one of two people, and I was like, I called it one, and it was actually another, but I got it wrong. Never mind.
And a lot of that was, there was a lot of red herrings throughout the whole film with Ares. Even so much so that even I, at one point, I did call it wrong too, because I thought it was the general itself, just because the way they were sort of promoting them. And at one point, it's very hard to tell. I saw it just out of kind of like 1 second, is that when they're in the gala and he's dancing with Diana, and he mentions something right before he leaves, his head stops right in front of a stuffed animal with horns on it, to where it looked like he was wearing the helmet of Ares. I said, he's obviously Ares. And then the film said, no, JK, that dude over there's Ares. I'm like, oh, okay.
For a second, I thought it was Dr. Poison. I thought they were going to go that route, and I was like, no, okay, fair enough. But yeah, where was I? Yeah, one of the problems I've had with a lot of the DC films is that they have been relentlessly grim and unpleasant and dark. Grim dark. It doesn't feel right for me for a superhero film. But the fact that this is set in World War I, which was one of the most awful, brutal, terrible conflicts of the 20th century, meant that fit. And the fact that it wasn't relentlessly dark. There were moments of humor and light and brightness and hope. Meant that there was contrast.
Well, and it also meant I feel like it helped the movie keep its theme straight, because the theme of I think this is something that Brian mentions Man of Steel review. The theme behind Superman is that he's supposed to be an inspiring figure that we look up to, whereas Man of Steel pretty much turned him into a walking natural disaster. And then you had Batman versus Superman, which didn't help matters very much. And then Suicide Squad, which was Suicide Squad. I mean, there's really not much more we can say about that either way. But, here we have a film where, the hero is genuinely a heroic figure.
Yeah.
And not, it's like, oh, I'm here to save people. And then, I'm going to, level half a city block. We actually got to see Wonder Woman, say she was a hero, and actually not just say she was a hero, but actually be a hero.
Not just be a hero, but become a hero. Because it was a full character journey, and it was really cool to see this character who is very naive, and then watch her learn about the horrors of the real world, rather than the whole thing is just the horrors of the real world and just dark. You got to have this beautiful, paradise island with all of these beautiful, tough bitches, and then
one of whom was played by Princess Buttercup, which
I know, right?
Me.
Yeah, the greatest general of the Amazon people is Princess Buttercup. Yes.
So you got this beautiful, bright, colorful world, and a sort of naive mission that Diana steps out into. She comes from this beautiful, peaceful land where she's been trained as a warrior, but she's never had to go to war. And to watch her journey into a whole new reality and the real world, the rest of the world, and into war, and into learning more about all of the peoples, and to have that full journey where she realizes her purpose isn't what she thought it was, and creating her own purpose and her own destiny was really great, versus Batman being angsty and Superman just being angsty and angst.
It was also one of the things that is in things like the Avengers and so on, is that kind of like punch the air moment of, yes, they had it in Wonder Woman. The bit where a friend of mine described it as the bit where Wonder Woman main tanks the raid, where she charges out of the trenches and goes after the village, goes to rescue that village. And a friend of the whole she main tanks the raid, and I just went, you know what? That's a perfect description.
It's her Eowyn moment. That's no man's land. I am no man. Like,
yeah,
I'm actually really glad because they set that line up. I was like, please don't say it, please don't say it, please don't say it, please don't say it.
It was implied. It was such a kind of like yes moment, and there weren't any in Man of Steel.
I'll tell you something else I really liked about the way this film was scripted is I liked how there were kind of three goals in place. There was the overall goal of stopping the war, which Steve thought could be done by destroying the gas, and which Diana pursued by trying to kill Ares. And I liked how neither mission was given sort of more precedence or importance over the other. They both saw their goals accomplished, and in pursuing their own goals, they also simultaneously each helped the other. And I thought that was a really really well done plotting of the in this film, which I don't see script writing of that level very often in movies anymore.
Well, if you look at it, it's weird because they were both right and both wrong. Like, and that sort of complicates the whole matter of everything, because when she finally kills off the general and she looks around and nothing has changed, she begins to sort of question herself. And, Steve sort of walks in being like, we can still stop it. We can still do these things. And then Ares shows up and Steve's like, what the fuck? But at the same time, it's like, we still got to stop, this. We need to help her because now she's dealing with Ares. So it's this weird, actually kind of shows kind of how World War I was kind of this master clusterfuck. Because and that's kind of why I like the film went to World War I and not necessarily went to World War II. Because World War II, in terms of storytelling, it's very simple.
It's very clean cut.
It's just Nazis, bad guys, go get them. Here, this is way more complicated than anyone ever thought it could be, and it sort of complicates them in the matter. And they both turned out to be right. Stopping the gas eventually allowed the Germans to sign the amnesty, and then also killing Ares probably knocked Sean was like the soldiers that he was controlling didn't want to fight. So they were both right and both wrong. But it wasn't like you weren't like rooting for either one to be right or wrong. You were rooting for them to, I guess, to complete what they wanted to do, sacrifices and all.
Okay. Yeah, it's also that at no point did either character say to the other, oh, you're being stupid, you're being naive. It's just, I've got my mission to do, you've got yours, that's fine. You go do your thing, I need to go and do this.
Right.
And then when they did butt heads over it, it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't, oh, you're stupid, you're so naive for thinking this. It's really just like, what if you're wrong? Yeah, I have to do what I think is right.
Yeah, what if you made a mistake?
And that's just totally valid. Like both of their opinions were totally valid.
And I love that, the fact that nobody is depicted as being 100% in the right, but they are both right in a way.
And there was no real like drama for the sake of drama. Everything was pretty legitimate. If I were in that situation, I'd probably be thinking or doing the same thing.
Yeah, nobody was holding the idiot ball at any point.
Which segues nicely into a discussion of the cast and performances. And so I guess let's begin with the star of the show. That's Gal Gadot as Diana / Wonder Woman. And I gotta say, when I went into Batman v Superman and saw her performance in there, I was kind of like just meh about the whole thing. I was like, all right, well, let's be totally honest. There was really no real reason for her to be in that film. She didn't really add anything to it. So I was like, all right, well, maybe, let's hope that, when she gets her own solo film that they do better with her than they did in this film. Gal Gadot knocked it out of the park in this film. I could absolutely believe that not that she was playing Wonder Woman, but that she was Wonder Woman. Like I was like, this is it. This is the new Wonder Woman. Like that. I buy into this 100%. Like this was one of the best performances I've ever seen in a superhero film for a long time.
Well, a lot of that, I think, give her a lot of credit for it is that she also just she immersed herself into the character. It wasn't just like a check for her or anything, just another movie deal. It wasn't another Fast and the Furious. It's all right. Here's my money. I'll do what you need to do, and I'm off and doing whatever else. Like she really wanted to get it right to a point of absolute almost perfection. And Patty Jenkins, the director, who also should get a lot of credit for this as well, like took her on and said, we're going to make this right. So both of them, I think it was definitely a collaborative effort between her and Gal and Patty.
I was going to say a lot of it. I have to wonder how much of it was due to the fact that there was an entirely different director. And not to be all like political or anything, but I wonder if the fact that it was a female director helped. Because this is a woman's story when you get right down to it. And a lot of guys, for reasons that that escape me, have trouble with that sort of thing.
No, I think it absolutely was a great choice to have that. You are correct. It is Wonder Woman. We needed to have that sort of eye to it. And everyone, I was looking at some of the featurettes, and everyone said like Patty's perfect for this film. Like she's done everything. She's so involved in everything that goes with it. So yeah, that obviously helped it out.
Let her do more films, please.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
you're in charge now. She's like, done. My plan has come together.
So, well, I mean, you look at her, you look at Patty's at filmography. You see the only other film on there is Monster, which won Academy Awards. So,
she was originally supposed to be short.
Why has it taken this long?
A question I wish I could answer for you.
So,
but she was supposed to originally do Thor: Dark World, and she got removed from the project. We don't know why.
Okay, well,
because that could have been a good film.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we're getting a bit distracted here. So, Kat, what did you think of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman?
I don't know too much about Wonder Woman, except the what little bit I know from gleaning from comics and other things. But I was a little worried. I was in the camp of people who were worried that she wasn't big enough. Like she wasn't tall enough or muscular enough to really have the look of Wonder Woman. Like I was worried that, she's going to be so dainty and it's going to be yet another superhero chick who looks like you could break her over your knee because she's so skinny. And we're supposed to believe that she can take down all these huge guys. And the best thing that I have heard about Wonder Woman and Gal Gadot was that there's a scene where she's just, out on screen kicking some ass and you can see her thighs jiggle because there's actual muscle and fat there like a normal human being should have. And you're like, okay, rest assured, she has the appropriate body type for the character. That's not to say people of the whatever body type can't play whatever. But Hollywood is really cruel to women and you have to be just so skinny to be put on screen. And she really felt right for the role. She really looked the part when it came time to have her on screen. She just was so badass.
Okay, all right.
God bless her stunt woman too.
Right.
Actually, I think she did most. I think I read that Gal did most of her own stunts while pregnant, no less.
Well, then she didn't do all of her own stunts.
No, she was like, she did reshoots while pregnant, but I guarantee you they're like not going to let a 5-month pregnant woman do stunts.
Right. Also, I know stuff about her.
Yeah, the movie insurance would go, fuck off.
Yeah.
Oh, no, ma'am.
Now,
Okay.
Did she do some of the fight choreography and stuff like that? Yes, but she obviously had a stunt woman.
Okay. All right, and then the other leading face on this was Chris Pine as Steve Trevor, who Chris Pine surprised me in this movie because the only other movies I've seen him in were the Star Trek films, which he was just like, if he'd been any more wooden, I would have started carving stuff into him. But he really brought his A game on this film, and I was really surprised at the range that he showed. I don't know. What did you guys think of him?
Chris Pine's Chris Pine. Like, he is literally Chris Pine.
It's hard to talk about Chris Pine without describing him as Chris Piney, because he's just his own breed. I have seen him in things other than Star Trek, and he can be so funny in ways that aren't Star Trek funny, and that's great. And I don't usually see him play such a good actual balance of seriousness and then a lot of heart and then comedy on top of it, because it sort of feels like his character as Kirk is either way too serious or way too like lighthearted, and there's not a whole lot of in between. And so it's really nice to see him balance his strengths to have such a great character. And I think he kind of came into it knowing that he was going to be compared to Captain America, because it's a World War movie with superheroes, and his name is Steve, and he's blonde, and yada yada, and yet was absolutely nothing like Captain.
No, he does. Having seen this, it makes me even more convinced that the direction from J.J. Abrams in Star Trek did him no favors whatsoever, because as Kat said, he actually has a great range, and he's got great comedic timing, and he can do deeply emotional scenes. I mean, the scene where he's under the lasso of truth and he's talking about how horrible the war is, and there is like this very subtle, understated horror going through that as he's kind of stating this stuff and how awful it is and how many people are going to die. And it comes out like, you know, he's just flatly horrified by it all, and it's so awful that it's just completely overwhelming him. And that is really got across in the performance.
I think his best scene is right at the end when he's trying to convince Diana to come finish the fight, and she just is not having any of it because her whole perception of reality has been shattered. And he's begging her, like, we need you. You have to come do this. And he's resigned to, okay, she's not going to come. I'm going to go do this alone, and I'm probably going to die. And then he's gathering up the guys, and they're going to go do this. And there's just such a desperation in him that is just incredible to watch.
Yeah.
Also, like, he struggled to, like, answer her questions. Like, you know, like, why is bad things happening? Or why is it, like, why did you guys become corrupted? And he goes, like, I don't know. But what I do know is I need to do this. I actually liked the second time he was under the, because they talk about the balance. The second time he put himself under the lasso of truth, when he's like, listen, we're going to go to the front. He's like, are you lying? And he raps and goes, no, we're going to do this. And then stops, goes, we're probably going to die. This is a terrible idea. Why am I doing this? Because it was this serious moment to, oh God, just the realization of what's happening.
This is what I mean about the comic timing. It was so perfectly done. But yeah, that kind of like really shows off that he can act if he is given good material and a good director.
Okay. All right. So what are some other standouts among the cast that you guys want to talk about? I know I can't let this show pass without commenting on David Thewlis as Ares. And I've got to ask this because I swear to God, either I'm going crazy or they actually did this. Is it just me, or when he went into a God am I mode, did he sound like Frank Welker? Because I was getting some serious G1 Megatron vibes. Like I was like, is he about to ask her to join the Decepticons?
I'm pretty sure that it's just the type of filtering they were using.
Yeah, because if you look up IMDb, if they would have credited him even if it was like an uncredited role.
But I had trouble at first, kind of like not seeing him as Professor Lupin, which is weird.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
That took me no, it's not Lupin. It's not. Stop it, brain.
And I picked him early as Ares because he was just too good and nice. And I'm like, everybody's crap. Everybody in World War I is crap except for this guy. This guy is Ares. And I was really glad when they went for his Ares appearance that it was strikingly different, because I think of him as Professor Lupin and as sort of a more gentle person, that he needed to be like full armored. You can't really see his face. Lots of filtering on his voice. I think they made him look like really huge and tall. And it really took you away from the character that they had first brought him in as versus Ares. It was a really good transformation.
I also liked that touch of when the molten metal comes around him and he kind of like scores the eye holes to make it into a Greek helmet. That was such a nice touch, the callback to where to the mythology. I thought it was great. Dr. Poison, she was amazing and understated and creepy as hell.
Oh, she was damn creepy.
I mean, that kind of porcelain face mask, and wow.
See, that was one of the few disappointments I had with the film. Was I wish they'd done more with her, because I really felt like with the mask and the way that she kind of reacted when Diana had her under the not so much under the gun, but under the tank, like about to inflict some smashy on her. That this character, it really had like kind of a tragic backstory to her, and I was like, I want to hear. We're at point B. I want to hear how we got to here from point A. What was point A with this character? So I was really hoping that
it would have been nice,
more of her
but
backstory.
it would have brought the film to a screeching halt, I think.
So, of course, a lot of that feeling was because I thought she was Ares.
Yeah, so did I at one point.
So
Robin Wright as General Antiope. She was great. She was superb. This kind of scarred veteran, and she is literally covered in scars, who's clearly seen combat at some point, and the idea of having to face Ares again clearly is like, something awful and terrifying to her.
But that's why she wanted Diana to learn.
Yeah, exactly. And that's without having to be explicit about it. That was quite nicely done. I thought Hippolyta was actually pretty good. I don't think she was a standout, but she was good.
Yeah, I thought they had a really good familial balance with all of them, because there was clearly contention there with training Diana without Hippolyta's permission, against her wishes. But, Antiope was able to convince her that, yes, this is the right course of action. It's the course of action that's going to save lives. And it wasn't creating drama for drama's sake. Everybody had something at stake, and it didn't feel forced.
Well, it's also good because it's the whole Amazon culture as well, is that by all technical accounts, they were everyone on that island was Diana's mother.
Yeah.
And you see that through how they, you had the one mother who wanted to protect her, but the other mother saying we need to have her stand on her own because this is kind of this is important. So it was really cool to see that on screen.
There's also when she's like, we need to go back with him, and one of the senators is like, "What are you saying, child?" In that really familial tone.
Yeah.
Little things.
Okay. All right, we're running a bit long, so let's talk real quick about the presentation of this film.
I wanted to talk about Samir, Charlie, and the Chief.
Yeah.
The Howling Commandos. We need to talk about the Chief.
All right, but I don't want to hear... We can go along, but I don't want to hear any complaining from anybody.
Okay? Why would I complain? It's my idea, so fuck you. But no, here's a little bit... This probably was on the internet, though, but Samir actually, I think, was supposed to represent a character from DC Universe that eventually founds what they call the Blackhawks, which is their super pilots from World War II. So again, that's me as a comic book fan going like, I get this reference. I would actually really enjoyed the Chief though, so whose name is Eugene Brave Rock, because I didn't know his story as an actor before this, but when he came into this role, the director Patty Jenkins said, "I want you to basically create your character from the ground up. Whatever you need in terms of costuming, naming, everything is all yours." And I thought that was fantastic.
Eugene Brave Rock. I thought that was the character's name and looked up. No, that's the actor's name. And like, oh man, your parents loved you very much to give you such an awesome name. Like that is the name of the man who eats thunder and craps victory.
Yeah, I liked that these guys were in it and they all represented different real life problems that I think a lot of people would like to see addressed in film more often, between racism, more racism and genocide, and PTSD. These are things that we don't talk about. And when we do, we don't talk about it very well. So like Iron Man 3 addressed PTSD, but it came off as really kind of obnoxious and dragged the film down. Whereas this addressed PTSD in a way that felt more real and less obnoxious.
I disagree about Iron Man 3, but that's beside the point. But yeah, Charlie as the sharpshooter that can't shoot. Nice. Samir was great. And when he's doing the kind of like faux obsequious thing, when he's being the chauffeur, and he's clearly laying it on so thick. And he's clearly like, you are so stupid, you are totally buying this. It's just brilliant. But yeah, Eugene Brave Rock as Chief was so beautifully understated, and you know, they just, again, it was the little things, little scenes, little lines. It wasn't, you know, huge and in your face. It was just nicely slipped in there.
Are you like when they stole the car? They're like, "Where did you get a car in the middle of this place?" It's like, "There's just a field full of them over there." Like,
alrighty. Okay, so let's talk a bit about the film's presentation, and I'm just gonna open up by saying the fight choreography in this film was incredible.
To a point. Unfortunately, there's a lot of quick cutting that I'm still not a big fan of.
As somebody who has actually done sword fighting and so on, that sort of thing that, as Brian said, it really bugs me, and it just kind of goes like, you haven't properly taught your actors how to sword fight, have you? Even if they have, they still do it. It's like, no, just show them fighting. They know how to use a sword. Bloody show it. And that, the scene, as I mentioned it again, the scene where they're storming out of the trenches, that's great. That scene was brilliant, flawless, fantastic. More of that, please. It still felt slightly too desaturated for my taste. There was a lot of grey and brown going on. I could have done with a bit more colour. But that's just the current DC cinematic thing is just, it's slightly too desaturated for my taste.
See, I felt like in this film the contrast between the bright and colorful Paradise Island and the drab and desaturated trenches created a very nice contrast, because, you know, on Paradise Island, yeah, they're Amazons and they're warriors. They're not going to take any shit from anybody. But at the same time, they're very isolated from the rest of the world. So they don't really know how, you know, things on Paradise Island are comparatively simple compared to the much more complicated and, you know, horrifying realities of the Great War. So I felt like in this case, the desaturation created a nice thematic contrast.
I see what you're saying, but I still think they went overboard. I mean, especially the bit after the village had been liberated. They could have kind of like toned down the desaturation at that point, but they didn't. Yeah, okay, it's set at nearly sunset, but it still looked really, really grey, and places do not look like that. Okay. Sorry. It's a personal bugbear.
Maybe it was done to create sort of the lens through which we look at World War One and even World War Two is we look at it in black and white or sepia tones.
Yeah, okay.
That's how I think of it anyway. But I didn't really notice the desaturation this much, and maybe it's just because our expectations for that are so low.
Well, I think not to put words in your mouth, Skyblaze, but I think part of the problem is that all the previous DC films have been desaturated. So, if you look at Wonder Woman on its own, the desaturation makes sense. But when you stack it up to Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman, it just kind of fades into the woodwork.
Yeah, that might be part of the problem.
Okay. So what else stood out about the presentation to you guys?
Her costume was so awesome. I thought I was going to really hate that it's like non-existent skirt, but it's Wonder Woman, so that's just kind of what it is. But I really liked her costume. It's going to be really fun for cosplayers cosplayers have already been cosplaying her since BVS came out, but now you actually get it in color.
I know, right?
It's actually kind of interesting they did it the way they did.
Oh?
Well, when you think about there's controversy because it's not the Star Spangled Banner costume that we all familiar with in both the comics and also I can't believe I haven't mentioned her yet, Linda Carter and her TV series, who really shaped what I feel like in the 70s really shaped Wonder Woman. But the reasoning behind it is when Wonder Woman debuted in the comics way back when, the reason she wears like basically red, white, and blue and stars is that under Amazon traditions, when you become an ambassador to another country, you wear their flag basically as a show of respect. So since that's not really the case anymore, I was trying to figure out how do you justify the costume? And they didn't really have to justify the costume. You just said, this is what an Amazon warrior wears, and this is the color she wears them. And I go, I'm good with that. Next. That's a sword.
Also, yeah, the silhouette of it was very Greco-Roman, which is appropriate.
Did they also imply that it had been someone like her mother's costume or something?
I don't think they implied it, but it could very well be because
it kind of gives that impression.
Yeah,
it's implied that she got it from the same tower where she said that they keep the treasures of that the gods had given them, and trophies from the past. So it's kind of implied that it is some sort of historical outfit.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll tell you something else that really stood out to me, and I know Kat's going to give me shit because apparently I'm the only one who pays attention to this, but the music in this film was amazing. And I kind of had to do a double take when I saw the composer, Rupert Gregson Williams. Like, are you related to Harry Gregson Williams? If so, that answers many questions because Harry Gregson Williams is an amazing composer, and it would make sense that talent would run in the family. But yeah, I'm definitely picking up the orchestral score to this film. Like especially that swelling bombastic score at the no man's land scene. I had that just on repeat at work all day today. And I just absolutely love the scoring of this film. So what about you guys? Did you guys notice the music at all, or am I the only one again?
The only thing I noticed was the cello they had used basically as her theme since Batman v Superman. And it was in here as well. That very like that sort of kind of.
That's a cello.
Yeah, it's electric. Yeah, they used electric cello or something. It was electric cello. It was a cello. It was a string instrument.
Electric cello? Such things exist?
Well, yeah. Welcome to orchestra.
Bloody do.
I thought it was an electric guitar.
Nope.
I didn't know I learned something today.
Pay attention.
But so I will give credit to it. I'll give it credit because a good score or musical, I guess, compilation is music that goes well with everything, that you sort of forget it's there, but it helps with the scene. And where a bad musical score is, you kind of look going, why is this playing here now? So this film, everyone's getting coughs today. And they all sound like Suicide Squad. How odd.
Mm-hmm.
But I will give the credit where this falls more into the first category where it helped out where it needed to be helped out to the point where I almost didn't notice it. More to the point of me saying man, I wish the music would turn down for a second. So I guess it's a weird backhanded compliment, but yeah, I did enjoy what I heard.
Okay. All right, well, we're running a bit long, so let's start winding things down and give our final general thoughts on the film. So, Kat, why don't I start with you? Final general thoughts on Wonder Woman.
It's DC's first good film, and let's not talk about how long it's been. It's a great superhero film, but more importantly, it's a great film. It doesn't have to meet the criteria of a great superhero film, I feel, as long as it's a good film. And thank God it was good, because a lot was writing on this in terms of the reputation or the impression that people have of female-led films and female directors. There was an immense amount of pressure to get it right, and they did, and it's fantastic. And I'm terrified of what that means for Justice League, because now we have these higher expectations that may inevitably be let down.
Yeah, the joke that I saw floating around Facebook was someone saying, I don't like the Wonder Woman film because of the message that it teaches children. What, that women can be heroes? No, that they can expect good DC films. So, all right, Skyblaze, what about you? Final general thoughts on Wonder Woman?
I think my thoughts on it are summed up by the comic book panel that's been circulating around various things, which is the middle of a battlefield with Wonder Woman carrying Superman and Batman on her shoulders and going, "I got this."
And now I owe a coworker of mine $5 because he bet me that somebody was going to bring that up this episode. So great.
And you took the against.
Do
you know who you work with?
Yeah, you've met us, right?
What's wrong with you?
What can I say? I have a gambling problem. Brian, what about you?
I really
thoughts on Wonder Woman. Not do you have a gambling problem?
I'm not a gambling problem. You have a problem. No, I really did enjoy this film. I felt a lot there. Yeah, there's obviously a lot going on with this film. There was a lot of things that people were talking about even before the film happened. There was a quote that Mackie, who plays the Falcon, mentioned a while ago that a lot of people have been promoting, is that you need to make a Wonder Woman movie just for I wouldn't say for the sake of it, but it's something that should be done, which I do agree with. I did disagree with people who said it should just be made to be made. Unfortunately, because there's the undertones and the political, and it's very political talk here, is that Wonder Woman needs to be made and also made well. And we did get that, and I'm very excited and happy for that. And if it's just the only other Wonder Woman that's ever made, at least we got, that's good because it's good. But my hope is, and my dream is, we get some more out of this. So now Marvel's going to look at the Captain Marvel movie coming up going, all right, the standard has been set. Let's match it or do better. And then we don't have to go look at the other characters. What other female characters deserve, their own film now? So my hope is this trend continues and it opens up a whole new avenue for a lot of people.
Okay. Well, my general thoughts on the film, I really love this film. And, as I mentioned, it faced a lot of pressure. And, now we've got kind of an interesting case study on how to actually promote a film of this type, particularly when you stack it up against, not to dig up unpleasant memories, but, how the Ghostbusters film last year was marketed and promoted versus how this film was treated in its promotions. And now we have a standard of how to do it wrong and how to do it right. Wonder Woman definitely did everything right, definitely ticked all the boxes of a great film. It's definitely going to be a steelbook purchase for me when it comes out on Blu-ray. Because like I said, I absolutely love this film. I don't have a single bad thing to say about it. My only recommendation is if you do see it, for God's sakes, don't get the XD seats because goddamn, that vibration just like walloped my intestines till my ass caved in. Not doing that again.
Thank you for that pertinent piece of information.
So this is the part of the show where we give our final ratings on the film from best to worst. See it now, wait for matinee, wait for DVD, wait for rental, wait for cable, don't even bother. And Brian's rating, fuck this movie. So Skyblaze, let's start with you. What's your final rating of this film?
Oh, good grief, see it now. What the hell is wrong with you? Why are you still listening to this? Go. Okay.
Kat, what about you?
Go see it now and then go see it again. Because let's be honest, studios care about how much money this makes. So if we give it a lot of money, then maybe they'll do it again.
All right, Brian, what about you?
I guess let's make it a 3 for 3. I do believe go see it now. It made, I think, 200 some odd million worldwide. We can make it bigger. I mean, what's coming out next week? A Mummy movie? Meh.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna make it unanimous. I'm gonna say see it now because this like I said, this film knocked it out of the park, and I absolutely enjoyed it. I can't think, like I said, I don't have a single bad criticism to say about it, and it definitely proves that there is potential for the DC expanded universe. We've gotten kind of to a rocky start with the with Man of Steel and Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad, but now we've seen that there's at least potential for something great here. So let's hope that carries through to Justice League because man, it's gonna need it. So
the only second movie this summer that I've actually truly enjoyed was this and Guardians of the Galaxy. It's been a kind of a low summer for us this year.
Yeah, it has been. So, all right. So that's about all time we have for Nerd to the Third Power this week. Thank you as always for tuning in. We will see you next week. As always, I'm Dr. Gonzo.
I'm the Cat.
I'm Skyblaze.
I'm Brian.
All right. We will see you next week. Taka, play us out.